What is your opinion of term limits?
I've been an advocate for term limits since the 90s. I've heard that question's been asked to us before. I think I know what other folks will say on that too. We'll share very similar views. So again, I'd ask you to take a look at experience and see who's been out there working hard for it and didn't bring this view based on a poll that they conducted. Many of you may recall back in the 90s there was a very active national term limits movement, an organization called U.S. Term Limits, and I was out there fighting hard for term limits, and I would do so again. We're a long ways from that today. The challenge we have with having congressmen who have been there too long is that they become disconnected from the things we know here in Kansas, disconnected from the constituents who they're tasked to represent. And so, while term limits is not a silver bullet and causes second order risks, it is absolutely the case that we would be better off if we had elected officials who didn't survive in a tenure system too, and went there, worked hard, had the impact that they went to Washington, D.C. to have, and then came back to their constituents and to the real world.
Paige Rutschmann, what is your opinion of term limits?
I believe that it is up to the American people. I don't think we should instill any laws that say that there should be term limits other than what we currently have. I believe it is up to the American people to take the country at heart, the best interest of the country as opposed to their individual states to a large extent. And whatever, if you have someone that has been in there for years and years, you need to take a good hard look at what they're doing in the national interest. And I would say that America has pretty much fallen asleep at the wheel as far as being cognizant of who is in power and any of the corruption that is going on in Washington, D.C. Those people need to be voted out and people voted in. I believe that people who have been in office for a long period of time believe that they're entitled to that position. I think that it's always wise to bring in new blood with new ideas and to rotate in and out of office of people that are in power. So that is my opinion of the term limits. I believe that it is up to the American people to make sure that the people that are representing their state and their country are doing an ethical and honest job.
Dean Schodorf, give us your opinion, please, on term limits.
Thank you. Yes, I have great faith in the American people, and they make the decisions every time at Election Day. But my proposal is 12 and 12. 12 years for the Senate, 12 years for the House. This way, and Senator Brownback said he would serve 2 terms, which would be 12 years. What 12 years does is there's a learning curve of probably a couple of years at the federal level. There's a learning curve at the state level of learning programs, learning how programs impact the state and the federal level and how they impact local communities and businesses. So there's a learning curve to be able to really make decisions based on what is good for the district, what will benefit the district. So I believe that 2 terms for the Senate and 6 terms, which would be 2 years each for the House of Representatives, is a viable plan that would help people learn the system, learn the government, learn how to bring good things to the district, but also not be there forever, because we should be a citizen legislature or a citizen Congress. That's what was intended from the very beginning.
Jim Anderson, your opinion of term limits, please.
Yes, term limits. I think KNSS just did a poll on term limits not too long ago, and actually 3 or 4 years ago, 7 out of 10 people wanted term limits. Now 9 out of 10 people want term limits, and I think that poll, KNSS poll, came in at 98% for, 2 against. It's a concept which time has come, ladies and gentlemen. I believe it is up to the people to decide how long your reps and senators are going to stay in office. I'm the only one that is supporting the term limits bill right now, making its way. I think it's still in committee for limits. Candidates have said that they were not in favor of term limits. I've said from the beginning I'm in favor of term limits because we need to make a change. It's not working again. Again, you know, the definition of insanity, Albert Einstein says, doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. And that is the place in which we are at this time.
Mike Hartman, give us your opinion of term limits, please.
Well, I'm quite frankly very energized and excited. For the first time, we have people actually giving numbers instead of generalities. Now, since September, when I announced I had firmly been for term limits, but I'm the only candidate 10 months ago that came up with a number, not a general, I'm for term limits statement. I've said from the beginning 6 years, 3 terms. My energized today is the 2 other candidates for the first time have come up with actual numbers, not generalities. So I have espoused term limits. I believe in term limits. I think it is good for the district of this country, and I'm the first candidate to come up with real numbers and say 6 years to the voters.
Right, our next